Good morning, my dear students. Good morning, one and all. This is the fourth lecture. The topic name is Port and Airport Management for Logistics and Dropshipping. So, according to Diana Meyer, has been explained about that a port is defined as any time and any maritime facility that is operated on a commercial basis and has at least one or more arrivals or docking ships. And most ports are located on the coast, but there are some that are inland, including those in, for example, Manchester, England, and Hamburg, Germany. So usually a canal or river will connect the inland port or to the sea. Asia has emerged as the continent with the most significant port growth over the last decade. Examples of these mega ports include the Shanghai. I know that modern port is a very busy place with many functions. The old days of the port being nothing more than a landing space for ships has changed. Even the ships themselves have changed, and some for commercial work, others for military purposes, and some for tourism. And the management of ports logistics is therefore a very important topic for any industry player that they wants to stay ahead of the competition. At the turn of the millennium, there was increased interest in the logistical management of ports, and specifically, there was concern that was various departments that make up a port were no longer speaking to each other. The lack of effective coordinations would lead to delays and even loss of consignments. And at a time when air freight is giving the shipping industry a run for its money, it is important that all port staff and departments offer the very best customer care. Let us begin by looking at the basis of the port. So, what are the basics for the port? In order for a port to function, it must have these core services, starting from the an administrative department that oversees everything. And the second one is infrastructure and structures for landing, loading, offloading, and exiting. And the third one is the security installations for ensuring safety. And fourth one is emergency cover in case of a crisis. And next one is state of the art communication systems to liaise with other sites. Next one is the government and the state installations such as customs and immigration. And final one is a customer service center to deal with the and process clients. So obviously not all ports follow the same labeling conventions, and some departments may be split up or amalgamated in order to support service deliveries. However, the basic functions that have been listed above are required for a port to function properly. And the role of seaports in a gateway performance is critical because they are the conduit for all transportation of goods across the globe. The container ports efficiency ranking study is used to compare various ports. It should be noted that the key performance indicators will always be efficiency, and efficiency is measured by the time it takes to process a transaction as compared to the other costs and benefits involved. For example, a seaport that has a long lines is considered to be inefficient even if it is offers a low prices, and considerations will also be given to how well the various departments and communicate with each other. The multimodal framework for running a port includes ocean vessels for the shipments and trucks, barges, and or trains for movement to and from the inland sites. And one of the popular options is to use the port-centric system in which the contents of the container are offloaded at the landing site and then passed on to the inland destination. So the pickup follows the reverse order and reverse the order, with the goods being brought to the port and then packed into containers to go on to the vessel. The next one is we need to discuss about the UNCTAD Port Development Model. The UNTAD means the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. So the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has approved a three-generation port development model. This focuses on aligning structures and infrastructures with the changes in technology. For example, the businesses operating near or within the power must constantly review their working practice in order to ensure that they are fit for purpose. So this model also pays attention to political changes as well as the impact of international trade. For example, the UNCTAD Port Development Model might consider the fact that the United States, under the government administration, and is reviewing its trade relations with countries with which it has a significant trade deficit. The fact that China is shipping an economic powerhouse is one of these countries means that ports must restructure their operations accordingly. So, nevertheless, the UNCTAD model has sometimes been criticized for assuming that changes that take place in discrete and subsequential format affect every one operation on a given port in equal measure. So, there is evidence that a single port can have a combination of older technologies, practices, and new innovations depending on how each operator is positioning in themselves on a competitive basis. The Duluth is an example of this mixed development. Next one is when we discuss about the key stakeholders. In any arrangement of port logistics, it is important to ensure that all the stakeholders are involved. The main stakeholders including that number one is service providers, and next one is facilitators, and third one is operators, and fourth one is end customers. And the reason for this involvement include the need for a buy-in and ownerships of the port development process. It is also recognized that one stakeholder acting alone cannot lead to changes and improvements across all departments of the port. Therefore, a collective effort is needed to achieve this. Next one is we discuss about the workport model. The workport model has emerged as one of the solutions to the problems that were identified by UNCTAD system. And under this model, the port is said to evolve and depending on the needs of the market at a given point in time. And changes are not revolutionary because they retain some of the older systems. And for example, a paper trail may accompany computerized records so that they can complement one another in terms of providing good customer care. This model also recognizes the political of port management, but also it always prioritizes those issues that are immediate, urgent, and critical mode. A case in point is the lack of safety for ships due to piracy. And the key issues that will be considered in this model of port logistics include the number one is considered for the external environment, internal environment, a functional organization, a spatial organization, port organization, strategic planning. The industry later decided to focus on a customer-centric model which tends to prioritize the needs of clients over the internal operational convenience of the various players within the port. This is recognition of the fact that shipping does not have the monopoly on international transportation for trade purposes, because therefore the industry must identify and enhance its competitive advantages. The next one is to discuss about the key determinants of a port structure. All the elements that have been described above have contributed to the structure, infrastructure, and operation of international ports. The planners and organizers of these ports needs to address the following issues and in the strategic planning we need to say, and starting from the ensuring that the port is suitably located for efficient operations and access to clients, and managing the internal and external space so that it is adequate for the port's needs, and selecting the cargo types that are most appropriate and lucrative for the port, understanding and meeting customer requirements in order to remain competitive, establishing a wide but effective distribution channel as well as linkages for support. The take home for port managers is that they can no longer stick to one static formula and hope to succeed in a competitive industry such as this. They must embrace new technology even as they retain some of their more traditional methods of operations. Because of the port managers must also be aware of the wide international trade trends and rules as they operate their own establishment. The next one is we need to discuss about how important is logistics for an airport. How important is logistics for an airport. The role of logistics is to investigate and optimize the processes in individual subsystems of integrated logistics system of the airport, and to harmonize the operations not only at airports. Cooperations with air carriers and the cooperating airports should lead to increase of the transport system capacity as a whole. So what is the logistics in aviation? Logistics technology include aviation in the planning, organizing, administrative control, and enforcement operations in air cargo supply chain. These individual components are connected to the carriage of cargo in collaboration with intermediaries of air freight, airports, airlines, and air traffic services. So what is airline supply? That this refers to the stock of resource of the number of goods or service available for the purchase. In aviation, supply may refer to the number of available flights and seat capacity. Okay, the next one is we need to discuss about the drop shipping. So what is drop shipping? Dropshipping is the type of a retail fulfillment method of our online stores where instead of warehousing inventory, merchants purchase products from third-party suppliers as customers make orders. The products are then are shipped directly to the consumer. This way, the seller doesn't have to handle the product directly. Sound familiar? You know, for the retail store manager, when it comes to shipping and order fulfillment, this is a mostly in the hands-off process. The merchant doesn't have to stock products and order inventory in bulk or physically fulfill the order in any way. Instead, the third-party supplier will ship products on the merchant's behalf. The dropshipping is great for entrepreneurs because running a store doesn't demand as much operational capital as the traditional retail model. You don't have to open a brick and mortar store and hire employees, keep the lights on, pay overhead, or stock products. Instead, you open an online storefront and buy wholesale from suppliers who already have products and warehouse space. So that more interested in traditional commerce, and because the sign up for Handshake, a wholesale marketplace built by some of the company that will connect you with thousands of all around the globe suppliers. What is a dropshipper? A dropshipper is a manufacturer or supplier who supplies and manages inventory for a retail merchant and ships order to the customer. Because the merchant is mainly responsible for gaining customers by driving traffic to the store and processing orders, meaning you will effectively be a middleman despite this, and you will reap the lion's share of the profit by making up these items you sell. It's a very simple business model and one that can be very rewarding. Millions of entrepreneurs flock to dropshipping because it has a low barriers to entry and requires less money to launch. That's probably why you are interested, and the best thing is for all. With the dropshipping, you can build a business that's sustainable in the long term right from your laptop. Of course, there are both drawbacks and advantages to this business model, and it's important that you need to look at them before you start your dropshipping e-commerce business. Once you understand the pros and cons of dropshipping, however, learning how to do effectively will be breeze, and especially with the great resources, and you can understand about some of the information available in the Google and internet industry. Okay, my students, I hope you have enjoyed the fourth session. Thank you once again, and thank you all.